Conflicted would be the best term to describe how I'm feeling right now. On paper, this is everything that I wanted from the Pokemon franchise, for it is not a case of regression, but evolution. Many, including myself, were worried that after the legendary disruption that was Legends Arceus, they would go back to how things once used to be. Except this generation isn't just following their footsteps, but taking it one step further. Gone are the days of traveling in minimized versions of each town's and routes, of having entire portions of areas cut off with zero ways to explore, of encountering wild Pokemon in a patch of grass. Everything about this game is being promoted as a seamless experience with no borders, meaning that we likely won't be returning to the days of being stopped by text boxes when picking up an item or entering eShop backgrounds when facing our rival. With Pokemon that are freely roaming in the vast overworld, that hopefully won't rotate 360 degrees, or randomly pop into existence. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that for the first time ever, we are getting a fully scaled Pokemon game. Plus, look at the starters. We got Sprigatito, we got Fuecoco, we got all in a new region inspired by Spain, a lot of which I find to be greatly reimagined here. That is complemented by a new and vibrant art style that's breathing new life into the Pokemon we know of. Come the fall of 2022, we very well could get the Pokemon experience of our dreams. So with everything that I just said, why am I still conflicted? Why is it that for all my praises, I'm constantly saying could instead of will? And this, my dear viewer, is where comes my concerns. Three years. That's how long it took to give the main characters expression. Pokemon has always had a 3-year development cycle for a more new generation, rarely ever choosing to take more time, let alone straight up delaying their games unless it's literally impossible for them to finish on time. Many people have been accusing 3D Pokemon games of either being rushed or having trouble development, but this has always been the case. This is something that I will get more in depth into for a future video of mine, so please do subscribe as well as like this video. It really helps the channel out. Anyways, my point with all this information is that Pokemon games don't have a healthy development cycle. In fact, we are going to be looking at Sword and Shield's proto-builds. Fun fact, Pokemon battles weren't even added until the May 2018 build. They seem to have struggled in nailing the connectivity aspect, for said wild battles weren't even functioning for the first 6 months in engine. This is relevant because when it comes down to the new generation of mainline games, there is a year of pre-production and 2 years of in-engine development. And while there may have been no issue for the former, that doesn't really seem to be the case for the latter. This is further supported by an article on Gamefreak's recruitment website who mentioned how more power was given to a younger and inexperienced staff. Their inexperience was touted as one of the core reasons for being stuck on multiple occasions, requiring them to take help from experienced staff, which, honestly speaking, explains so much about this game. I would not have been able to compile all this information without my good brother Lu too, who helped me find and understand all of it. He genuinely makes amazing content and I cannot recommend him enough. Please do check him out. And now 3 years later, here we are with Gamefreak's first open world game. The scope continues to change, while the time remains the same. And when you add that with an underpowered console like the Switch, it creates room for concern. Especially when it's reinforced by all these trailers and even the previews showing how much this game struggles at times in being optimized. Granted, they were an older build of the game, but something tells me that the final build won't be exempt of such issues. Which then invites the conversation of how much of an impact this will have on the content of the game itself. How much made it in? How much didn't? I really hope it doesn't negatively affect the quality of the game, although unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But of course, all of this is still speculation. How do I feel about the content that has already been revealed? Is it something that gets me excited? Well, let's talk about it. Scarlet and Violet will be split into 3 separate story paths, with an emphasis on freedom as you cycle from earning gym badges, fighting titans, and facing Team Star in any order. This setting takes full advantage of the open world setting, creating even bigger room for carving your own experience, complementing Pokemon's nature of building your own party and making memories that are exclusive to you alone. Plus, with the paths being split like this, it creates room for their respective stories getting both its needed screen time and focus, thereby potentially improving its pacing, progression, conclusion. However, this choice isn't without potential caveats. One of the biggest charms about the open world genre is immersing yourself in a setting that feels alive, with living and breathing people that react to the actions you take. Even when you decide to mess around, these people will call you out for it, which only serves to add to the world's immersion. The reason this is relevant is because through splitting the story paths into 3 isolated experiences, they run the risk of destroying that immersion by not having them acknowledge each other. Imagine getting all 8 gym badges and becoming a champion, only for Mela to still talk down to you as if you're a starting trainer. Imagine taking down every single titan in the game, only for the gym leaders to still treat you as if this is your first ever battle. In that sense, I really hope that they go the extra mile in ensuring that your actions do matter, that they end up having different forms of dialogue, acknowledging your efforts based on what you have done, because if they do, this will go a very long way in solidifying the experience. Of course, that's just one part of it. The most exciting thing about these 3 paths is just how much it accommodates the new setting in terms of level design. Pokemon games have always stuck to the same 2D design throughout these 25 plus years, so much so to the point that you would know exactly what you were getting yourself into whenever booting up any of these games. Even when the series turned 3D 9 years ago, they have stuck to the same design philosophies, almost to a fault. But now, all of this is different. We are guaranteed to get something completely new in how our experience plays out. This opens so many possibilities, and while I'm not expecting them to nail it on their first try, just the prospect of knowing that I'll get something completely different makes me feel the same way I did with Legends Arceus. And I, for one, will take that any day over whatever preconceived comfort I found with the same formula that I think has run way past its course. But of course, I'm getting way too ahead of myself. What about Terrastalisation? Where do I think it'll stand in the current landscape? Well, my dear fellow, I just so happen to have my fair share of experience with competitive battling. And after putting a lot of oh so sophisticated thought, oh am I kidding, show him the footage. So yeah, with everything that I just said, you'd think that everything about this game excites me. That there's nothing stopping me from getting fully on board with the hype train. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. For there is still one thing that won't make it a Scarlet and Violet. For all the insane progress, Generation 9 won't have Pokemon's most revolutionary features in recent time, the catching mechanics and the attacking wild Pokemon. I understand why it isn't there, because given the time frame between each release, it would have given far less time for Omori and his team to implement this feature. It's unfortunate, however, because given the open world setting, these features would have greatly added to the game itself. Not only would it have provided players with more opportunities to catch these Pokemon in a more unique, addictive, and compelling way, the Pokemon attacking trainers would also add a much needed level of stakes and tension to each encounter, thereby making these encounters far more memorable. And none of this is off-brand either, considering how since day one, the prospect of wild Pokemon attacking trainers has been just about normalized in every other Pokemon media. Unfortunately, it looks like it won't come to pass this time around. And while I don't think that's a deal breaker by any means, it's sadly just another case of 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And yet, despite it all, now that we're so close to its release, I'm honestly starting to look forward to it. Don't get me wrong, all my concerns in terms of time and available content remain the same. But even after that, it's finally sinking in that we are about to witness the birth of a new generation that just so happens to be Pokemon's biggest evolution yet. If there's anything that's indicative of this year from both Legends Arceus and Generation 9, it's that Pokemon is under the hands of passionate directors, with teams that are looking towards taking the series to even bigger heights. For now, we will finally get to explore a region entirely for what it's supposed to represent. It is through combining all these things together that we realize that now is truly a special time for all of us. For with the birth of a new generation comes these special moments which bring people together to share their love and excitement for the next step of their beloved franchise. And that to me will always be the best part about Pokemon. Except now, this isn't just the birth of a new generation. This is the birth of a new era. And with that concludes my video. With Scarlet and Violet soon to come, I got very big plans in store and I cannot wait to show it to you all, both with Generation 9 and Pokemon Adventures. Please don't forget to subscribe as well as like this video if you haven't, and if you want to keep up to date with my future works, feel free to join my Discord. Thank you very much for watching, have yourselves a glorious day, and I'll see you all on the flip side. Whoosh!